welcome to our first conversation in Jocelyn's Corner. I'm Gwendolyn Kuhlman. I'm an opera singer and a producer, and I stand in Jocelyn's Corner. Over the next 2 months, I'm interviewing people who stand in Jocelyn's Corner, people who want to see her succeed because they love and care about her, because she has shown up repeatedly with them and for them, and I'm so excited to introduce to you our guest, Tisha Harvey, today. But first, I just want to introduce why we're all here and give you some important links. So we're here to drum up support for Jocelyn Foreman's cause, to be the first to use SB 1079 to purchase the foreclosed property she had been renting, and to work with a stewardship organization like a community land trust or a permanent real estate cooperative to help her manage and maintain the property. This would plant her feet firmly in the ground after years of instability and give her the freedom she needs to then go out and do what she does best, which is serve the community. And if you want more information about the cause, I'm putting in a link to a video that tells you a little bit more. Hi, Hatem. So here's a video that gives you some more information. And if you know Jocelyn, or if you don't know Jocelyn and you've just already heard enough and want to change the face of housing in California, then go ahead and click this link and go on to the Berkeley Public Schools Fund.org website to make a donation and change the face of housing. So under programs projects, you need to click other, and you need to write in staff support Jocelyn Foreman. It's all there in the chat link. So you'll get more about all the inner workings of this plan, like the law, how stewardship organizations work, and I'll be talking about that with the guests I'm having in the coming weeks. But first, we thought it would be good to start off with what community even means and why it's so important to Jocelyn's cause. And that's why I'm so excited to have Tisha Harvey with us today to talk about what it means to feel at home and the work it takes to build a community. She's a true community builder, both in her professional and personal life, and she's a longtime friend of Jocelyn's. Tisha Harvey has her master's in social work from California State University, East Bay, and is an associate clinical social worker with the VA in San Francisco. She is the mother of 2 Berkeley Unified School District students, and she was the first Black PTA president at John Muir Elementary. She's written a book called Survivor Turned Provider, where she details her work through the stigmas and struggles of childhood housing insecurity, PTSD, and a suicide attempt, to live into her power and to become the provider she is for her family and her community today. And one last link, I want you guys to have the link to her book's website, so you can go and grab that book and be even more inspired to donate to Jocelyn's cause. So, welcome, Tisha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on and for supporting Jocelyn in this way. I just wanted to start by asking you a question that I'm thinking I want to ask everyone who comes on, which is, what does home or home base mean to you? And what kind of history and weight does that word carry for you?
Yes, home base for me means showing up where you live and supporting the community at large and planting your roots. When you have children that are in a district, school district, and there are opportunities to volunteer and support through fundraising and support by volunteering on field trips in the classroom, that to me is planting your roots, supporting your community in ways that you like I could only have imagined or have thought of. Like I've definitely been able to make Berkeley my home and I've done so by being a part of this community in ways that I could only think or imagine.
Yeah, I'm so interested in your story about this, like about what it takes to build community and this give and take. And like, can you speak to how you have personally felt that give and take as you've built community around you and your family?
Yeah, so I'm a strong believer that it takes a village to raise a child. And so with that, I have definitely utilized my village, from child care centers and after school programs to after school programs that are on school sites, and staff and teachers throughout the district. And I've been able to do that by building relationships and showing up and utilizing my resources and my community when I needed to. I wouldn't be where I am without my community. I was able to pursue my education with the support of my community. It took a village to get where I am. And I am a walking testimony that when you are able to be a part of a community, serve a community, support a community, and show up for your community, your community will show up for you.
And kind of leading into that, part of you showing up for your community was when you met Jocelyn. And so I'd love to hear your story of how you met Jocelyn and all of the different projects you guys have taken on together throughout. You guys have known each other for about a decade, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, how did you guys meet?
So my son was when he first started kindergarten. So I was I was an excited mom. I was always like ready to do and take on anything. And my oldest son was actually born with a hearing loss. And so it's actually one of the reasons I moved to Berkeley. I was told, he was born in San Francisco, and that's where I was raised. I was told by my early service coordinator that Berkeley was the place to be for children with hearing impairments, that they had the best services. And so I moved to Berkeley for him to go to SEED, which is a Center for Early Intervention on Deafness. And then from SEED to go to John Muir, because John Muir had a reputation of providing great services for children with hearing disabilities. And so that's where it all started. I would, when he started kindergarten, I was excited to be a new parent of a elementary school kid, and I just wanted to dive in, and I did just that. And when me and Jocelyn first, I would see her around campus. At the time, she was, I believe she was a teacher's aide, and she provided support in the classroom. And she questioned the way that I was moving around the community in the school. And I remember a conversation we had, and she said to me, people are not used to people like you showing up the way you have. And I'm just like, and she really schooled me a lot about the history and what it had been prior to my son enrolling there. And so I told her that, I'm going to have to figure it out and learn on my own, because I have every right to do what I am doing, and I'm going to show up and show out. And that's what I did.
Yeah. And tell me more about what it was like to show up and show out. I know you, like I said when I introduced you, you became the first Black PTA president at John Muir. Yeah, what was that development like?
Showing up for me, it meant being involved with the PTA, with every fundraiser that there was. I showed up in the classroom for volunteering opportunities. I showed up for field trips for volunteer opportunities. And for me, again, I was a new parent of, this Denari was my first son. And so I was excited to be involved. His education meant that much to me. I wanted to show him how much I was dedicated to his education. And develop relationship with the educators. Like, this was a campus where my son was going to spend hours and hours a day. And I wanted to know who he was going to be with, who he was going to be around, and how they were interacting with kids, and how they operated. And so that was my way to be able to get an insight to what was going on campus. And I just started to, go to the meetings, and then I instantly noticed that I was an oddball, one of only. and many times I was one of only, but it did not stop me from wanting to be involved. And I had many people question what I was doing, but I didn't let it stop me. And I took the time to go to meetings. I took the time to participate in fundraisers and support raising money for our school. And so I did that K through, what grade is he in? 10.
All right. And I'm sure he's excelling because of how you have shown up for him.
Yes.
And built that community around him.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say, like, we had a conversation right before this where I was made aware of some ways I was thinking that were so similar to, that might have been similar to the ways some parents you worked with at the time, some white parents you worked with at the time were thinking. And I just wanted to bring it up because you had so much grace in calling me up and being like, wait a minute. And so I asked you a couple of questions like, why were you doing it? And you had such a great thing to say about that, which was just like, you know what? If you want people to show up, then stop questioning why they're there.
Mm.
And I want to thank you for the grace you had in telling me that, and helping me see how we other people that we're saying all the time that we want to include. And and then we question why they're there when they show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got those kinds of questions while you were showing up, but you did it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's like it's contradicting in itself, because you hear people say, why aren't people of color showing up? But when they do show up, they're met with, why are you showing up? And it's just like, what? So yeah, I mean, I had a lot of, sneers, a lot of side eyes, a lot of people. I mean, I'll never forget one parent said to me, wow, you're at every event I'm at. And I'm like, what does that mean? No follow-up, no. I was just like, but she said it in a way that she was surprised, and it smacked me. And I was just, I had to realize that this was something that this community was not used to. And if I had to be the one to break down the barriers and the stigma, then so be it. I was going to be that one, because I was going to show up for my child.
And did you notice upon your continuation of showing up, because you just kept coming no matter what kind of side eye you got, did you notice there start to be a change in the community?
I mean, I always had people who supported me, and people who doubted me. And that's with anything that you do throughout life. You're going to have supporters, you're going to have doubters. And so I built relationships with people who supported me. And after a few years of attending meetings and supporting through fundraising, I was elected to be vice president. And so I served as vice president for 2 years. And then I was elected to be president. The first time I was elected to be president, I walked away from it. And I actually pulled my boys out of the school because of an experience that my youngest son was having. And took them away, and it didn't last long. Where I took them, it wasn't working out. So I decided to send Dinari back to John Muir because he was having success, and send my youngest son to a different school. And then Dinari's 5th grade year, I was elected. I was actually pushed back. The PTA president prior that was holding a position when I came back, she's like, this is your position. Like, you need to take this, and you're going to do well. I'm going to support you. I'm going to lay it all out for you. Like, you earned this spot. Like, you need to. And I had so many other people saying the same thing. And I hesitated because of all the politics. Like, who wants to deal with all that? I don't want to deal with all that. I just want to, show up and be a voice for the voiceless, and show other families and students that you are welcomed. Like, no matter what, this is your right as a parent, as a district resident, as a Berkeley resident, to show up whenever you want to.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of leads me back to Jocelyn's cause here, because what we're seeing is a possibility. Yes, we're working to raise a lot of money. Guys, go donate. We're working to raise a lot of money so that she can have her stable housing. But what is possible here is a new way of looking at how to get the staff and the teachers of BUSD back into living in Berkeley, because they have been priced out. And they're having a major problem keeping teachers in the communities that they're serving. And from hearing your story, because now you have been part of staff at Berkeley Unified Schools, what would be the ripple effects if all of these people who are serving the Berkeley community are actually able to live there?
A more supportive community. Sometimes, in my experience, I feel like people that don't live in the community that they work in, they don't really care too much about what's going on, and showing up and supporting students. And like the hassle of the commute, and the hassle of not being able to stay in the community where you serve. It is definitely a ripple effect. And I've seen so many different stories where people are like commuting from like 20, 30, 40 miles. Like, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, like I definitely want to encourage people to support in any way that they can, and help us make history. This is like history in the making right here. When you're supporting a bill that is in supportive of producing permanent housing for someone who has served a community for decades, like, this is history in the making right now.
Amen. Amen. And one thing I was hearing in what you're saying was this commute. So you have teachers and staff who are commuting half an hour to the community that they're serving, but then they're also parents. They also have their lives, and they have to build their community back around their kids. So they're having to make this choice. And I mean, I know I'm a young parent. I've got a 1.5-year-old, and if presented with the choice, I'm building the community around my kid. Yeah. And I don't blame anyone else for making that decision as well. And I think if we're able to put that building together.
Yeah, work is over, so I gotta head back home to meet the needs of my family and my community. And if you're not a part of the community that you serve, it's hard to be involved. It's hard to participate in after school extracurricular activities, whether it be a meeting or a fundraiser. I can't do that if I don't live in the community that I serve.
And what do you think the ripple effects have been for you, especially in those, it was a couple of years that you were at Longfellow, correct?
Yes. Well, I was there for one whole school year. Yes.
You were there for a school year.
Mhm.
You were an intern social worker, right?
Yes.
Um, and what did you feel that effect was when you're living in Berkeley and you're serving Berkeley schools? Was there this kind of this ideal that we're talking about of I'm contributing to the community and making the world that my kids then get to live in?
Yeah, it was awesome. Like it was so convenient. Like to be able to work 5 minutes away from where you live is a
Mm.
privilege. Like it is, and then to be able to, like, within my home from that school site, and then my oldest was at Willard at the time. It was like maybe 5-10 minute commute. I dropped one off at Willard, and then my youngest was at Longfellow, so I was working there, and my son was there. And at that
Mm.
at that at that time, I got in by the support of Jocelyn. Like Jocelyn has had my back since day one, and we have built food pantries at school sites together. So prior to me going in, I had an opportunity to intern with Seneca Family Programs, and it just didn't work out. And I was stuck at the last minute looking for a placement. And we did a tour. I did a tour with my son at Longfellow, and we were talking with the vice principal and the principal and one of the district supervisors for special education. In the conversation, we were just talking, and the principal was like, "Oh, like you said a couple key words that I'm just like so intrigued about." And I say, "Yeah, I'm his biggest supporter. I'm Mama Bear times 10." Okay. And I said, I'm actually looking for an internship placement. And then the vice principal was like, "We need interns." And I was like, "Oh my God, like this is amazing." And so he gave me the supervisor, who is an LCSW, Rosina Karen. He gave me her card to call her, and I sent her my resume, and we interviewed. But prior to that interview, Jocelyn said, "Hey," she's like, "I heard they want to get a food pantry there. They'll be the last middle school in the district to have a food pantry. That'll be your ticket in." And I mean, like, I got the chills just talking about it. And I was just like, that is genius. Like, I already know who to connect with, because those are the same. One of the parents that was on my board when I served as PTA president is very hands-on with the Berkeley Food Network. And I believe she's actually employed with them, Kristen Womberg. Womberg, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong.
Weinberg, yeah.
Weinberg. We have always had a great relationship, and she's definitely been one of my supporters. And so it took nothing but an email to get Longfellow in the loop of starting a food pantry. And that was, Jocelyn was like, "This can be your stamp. This can be your stamp on that school site. You start the food pantry, you connect them to the Berkeley Food Network, and you're in." And that's what I did.
Yeah. And that it's these relationships, like we're always talking about, we talk so much about access, and so much of that has to do with just having relationships, being in a community, having that community be strong. Thank you so much.
I was able to do that if I hadn't had those relationships and knew these people and been involved. Like, it's the joy of, building and starting relationships and keeping those relationships aligned in good tag. And so that, you never know when you may need somebody. And so to be able to say, "Hey, I served with her on the PTA. I know if I send her an email, it's going to work out." So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing all your experience. I know we said we'd go about 20 minutes, so thanks for staying the other 5. And sharing just how important it is to build community, and how this is what we're doing here. This is what we're after. It sounds like we're taking advantage of a law and we're trying to get our friend a house, which is also what we're doing. But it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's so much more. And you have shared so much that shows us exactly how that can work. And thank you so much. A reminder in the chat is a link to Tisha's book, Survivor Turned Provider. And in the chat, there's also a link to go ahead and donate to Jocelyn's cause. Every little bit helps. I know we're in COVID and not everybody's in the same situation, but if you have something to give, please do, because we're making a new world. We're making a new world for our kids to live into. We're making a new world to build a community around our families so that we're not all so alone. And thank you, Tisha, for showing up for Jocelyn today.
Yes, thank you as well for showing up and everything that you're doing. And I just, again, want to support the cause. And if anyone is willing to donate in a way that they can support Jocelyn, anything and everything is greatly appreciated.
All right. Have a great day, Tisha. Have a great day, everybody.
The same.